So hello, welcome to episode 5 of We Have Issues. I'm Anthony.
I'm Steven.
And
that's the first time I didn't interrupt him in the intro.
Pretty good.
I just did.
So every week Steven and I get together and we talk about our latest attempt to make a graphic novel. We've been trying to do this for over a decade. Something's always gotten in the way. Something has always gotten in the way. A lot of times it's been me. Some of the times it's been you.
A few times it's been me.
Yeah. So, but something, life finds a way. And
the worst way possible.
Exactly. And comics haven't always found a way. So we're trying really hard to get this thing done. So far, I think we're doing a pretty good job. What do you think?
I do too. The cover is done.
Awesome. It's going to be...
Just in case the camera chooses one of us.
One of us is going
not
to be...
here.
It might be here.
These are bags of clothes, I believe. Not there.
So
maybe near the Majin Buu.
Okay, so Steven and I started this podcast as a way to chronicle our attempt at making this graphic novel. If you're listening at home and you're not watching, we do have a YouTube video of our podcast, and we try not to lean too heavily on the video aspect of it, but it is going to be important every once in a while to show the progress that we've made. So if you look right here, what you're going to see is this beautiful cover that Steven's drawn. He did a great job, I think. I think that the process is really cool, and I think that was it easier than what we've been doing previously? What do you think?
Yeah, because I didn't have to do as many other shadings. Like I said, I relied mostly on the pencils to fill in the darks, and then I just did a bunch of lighting effects. I might have overdone it with the lighting effects, but
you know what they say, more is more, Steven. So I think it looks awesome. So basically last week we said you wanted to complete that cover. I wanted to send you at least the first chapter, and we both did it.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate.
We did,
yeah, total
Great
success. Despite whatever we were dealing with individually as human peoples, we were able to do it. So I'm part of a writing group based on... All right, this is gonna sound weird. Okay, so basically, I used to watch this podcast called Harmontown. It was the creator of Community / co-creator of Rick and Morty, Dan Harmon, created a podcast called Harmontown, and it was a huge part of my life for like 6 years, almost 7 years. It was basically it perfectly bookended my relationship with my son's mom. Just one of those, it was in right before I met her, and then it ended right after we broke up, which was just really weird. It was like an end of an era type of thing. Anyway, it was a big part of my life for that section of my life, and I love it. And I'm still a part of several communities, like subreddit. I'm part of 2 different Facebook groups. I've made a Facebook group, but basically, it's such
I'm a moderator of 3 other subreddits.
Yeah, it really is pretty funny. But the community is really great. So, and they're really supportive people who are all... Or for the most part, there's a huge percentage of them are creatives, people who just like to make stuff. So one of my favorite living artists I met through the Harmontown's groups, and here I'll put some of his artwork up if I can. But he's really great. Yeah, right there. But he's really great. So I meet all these really cool, interesting people who are interested in making comics or making music or whatever. A lot of them are writers because the community that surrounded Dan Harmon loved him. To an extent because of his writing and because of the way he's open about his process of writing and breaking stories and that sort of thing. Is really it's fantastic. It's really inspirational, and it's fun to follow that sort of thing, and it helps me a lot for sure. Anyway, so I'm part of that group, and so I asked if anyone was curious about anything, and someone said, so I got a few questions. So speaking of our thumbnails, because I wanted to ask you about this too, someone said, or they asked, how do we handle communicating our individual visions to each other? And how do we share what's in our brains? And how do we verify that we understand one another? So I, for instance, sent you a script. So basically what I do when I write is I'll thumbnail first, and then I'll write out what's in each panel, and I'll send the script to Steven. And then I basically let you decide if you want to see my thumbnails. That's usually what I do. So if it seems too confusing, or if you can't interpret it in some way that makes sense to you or that works for you, I'll show you what I'm thinking, right?
Yes.
So
however, in previous incarnations of our comic, I would just go ahead and spend 12 hours on a page before I even consulted you, and just show you this final pencil result, and you would be like, It's good, but there's always a but.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, I was all about the butts for sure.
But like no, and like really, what that's honestly, as the artist, like an artist need to understand that like your backseat to the writer. So like even though like you're contributing to the imagery, and obviously our dynamic is different. We obviously give each other more free play on both sides of the fence. We don't, but not all writers and pencilers or artists are going to operate that way. It's very important that like you definitely get roughs down and like show the writer or talk to the writer and see if you're like following their vision.
So from what you saw of the script so far, do you wonder like how do you feel about the pages? Do you have an idea of what you want?
Mm-hmm. I'm starting to plot them out now. That's what like usually what I do, especially how how overthinking works. So I've already started the process of like thinking about it and like completely like generating it in my head before I even put it to paper.
Right.
The first page is obviously overly intimidating because I just don't care to draw buildings and structures. No one does. No one wants to. But so I've just been like kind of researching some duplexes and things like that to kind of create that.
Mm-hmm.
I might even just drive by and take a picture of your old apartment, honestly.
Google Maps. Google Maps.
Oh, yeah, Street View. I could do that.
That's what. Okay, so I'll tell everyone I have no shame in like cheating certain things with my comic book. I 100% went on Google Maps and found like location for a building that like I wanted to use. I just took a screenshot and I basically used that as the template for what I like a couple.
Which isn't even. I mean, Marvel straight up uses Google SketchUp and things like that to do their backgrounds out. It's not like it's a thing that people draw entire city landscapes anymore. It's all trees. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know you can, but for me, it's the storytelling is the most important part. Like the actual narrative is the most important part. And so if you can convey the style, however you can do it, you do it. Like you don't have to invent a pen to draw a picture. You know what I mean? Like you use the tools at your disposal the best you can. And I get that there are some people who are going to have a lot of pride in drawing a motorcycle, but for me, that's just so tedious. And that sort of thing. Yeah, when I started drawing my comic, The Bullet and the Beast, I was just like, my next book will all be monsters on a planet in which there are no vehicles or buildings. Like it's just going to be a wooded area with just lines, just vertical line trees and monsters fighting you. Like, oh, I cannot draw. So anyway, I'm gonna give you all the buildings to draw. Okay, so basically, what Steven and I do is. Since I'm primarily the one who comes up with the stories or has been in the past, I write the thing and create thumbnails, give them to Steven. He now will basically thumbnail what he's thinking, send it back to me, and I'll make notes on it or whatever I'll just tell him what I think about it, and then we'll improve, and then he'll go on to the next stage, right?
Mm-hmm. And currently we have like a new like game plan since Anthony's gotten a little bit more savvy with like the Photoshop and stuff too. Our current game plan is to like bounce back the pages too. Now, obviously, if he's still writing and I'm somehow caught up on the pencils, then I'm just going to start coloring. Obviously, our idea is to generate as much time between both of us as we can with what we do. That's why like I already did the cover while he's writing. I got like the approval for the character design, so I just went ahead and did the entire cover.
Yeah, totally.
And like the pages, I'll start penciling them. But if Anthony's still writing and I've already caught up on penciling all the pages, I'll probably color them too, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, it's all about getting it all done.
Yeah, for sure. We're trying to create a workable assembly line as best as we can, basically. So I don't think that's going to happen. I'm pretty sure. Because I gave you pages to start working on, but I'm pretty sure I'll finish writing it in the next couple of weeks. Like I'm just gonna.
Writing's a lot quicker because I mean a page. If I'm really like the absentee pages were about 8 hours a piece. Yeah, I remember that from like rough to final pencil, and then another 8 hours to shade and color.
Yeah, so our podcast is basically going to turn into me like, all right, what are you guys gonna do next week? I'm gonna yell at Steven. and that's like, I'm writing the next story idea, guys.
We're already on the next comic, and Steven's on page 10. So, but no, I'm gonna try to like I'm gonna go a little neater with the stock because like the cover I went like crazy. I'll still probably go pretty crazy on the inside, but maybe I'll go a little leaner so that way it's easier. So, see, I just have a problem. You know this. I just have a problem with committing to lines. That's why I like to over detail stuff because like 4-line drawings or something like that, like Mickey Mouse style art or things like that, I just can't do. I can't execute like what I'm trying to see
Yeah.
So I always just add a lot of detail to cover up like what I'm seeing.
Okay, so someone else said, this is kind of backtracking to what we were just talking about, but it's kind of interesting. He says, how do you storyboard, and is connecting the strands of narrative overwhelming, and how do you handle it to make a cohesive narrative? Normally, I think I talked about this a few episodes back, where I have an issue with making my panels too specifically like moment by moment when it comes to comic books, which I'm trying to break. I'm trying to already break. If you read some of those panels, I'm trying to go from like setting Atlas down to I'm already in the outside of the room. You know, I don't have to see me closing the door. You know, like there's a part of my brain that wants to see every second of it because of movies.
There's part of my brain that wants me to just animate the entire thing.
That's what it is. Like that's like there I 100% just want to make a cartoon, you know, so anyway, I have to break that and basically just find the most important chunks you know, of the story, which is kind of difficult sometimes, you know. But mostly I was telling you before, for me the most important thing are just the main actions, like the primary actions that have to occur on the page, and as long as that is as long as that's translated some way on the page by you, it's I'm happy, you know. So as long as like you see me, like in the first page is just an establishing shot of the home. The second page was basically I'm setting down my son to go to sleep, trying to basically hide the fact that I'm sad until I leave his room, and then you see that I'm going to have to pack up my life, you know. So basically the important parts were just having the baby, putting the baby down, leaving the room. You know, like I know those are the main actions that have to happen, and then beyond that it's just directing where the camera is, you know. So I try to do that in my thumbnails and the panels, and then I basically in an abstract way I write it down and then give it to Steven so he can translate it how he sees, kind of like what we were just describing before. So that's how that works. And then I basically just do that throughout a chapter. So I use the same method of creating one page as I do to create a full chapter. So I know what the first action is and I know what the last action is. I fill in the spaces in between, you know, just so I break everything down like separate, like separate bullet points, you know, like I break every page down into bullet points and every chapter into separate bullet points of pages and every, you know, the book into separate bullet points of chapters. And it, you know, so it goes like that. For this project in particular, I'm probably going to cut a lot of this because I don't know how much of like the comic book specific like making stuff I should talk about and like how nerdy that is, or if it's like too much or not enough.
If people are going to be interested,
you know, so like I don't want to lose the broad audience, but I also don't want to like lose people who would otherwise be interested in making comics. Anyway, so I just have to edit it to like.
I just need to like let everyone know we're not professionals whatsoever. So this is just our technique. Your technique might be better than our technique.
That's true. If you have improved it,
let us know. What are we doing wrong?
Let us know how to fix this thing. We're trying our best. So basically, I write as like I outline the entire story. I try to create bullet points to know what action has to happen in each particular page. And then I break each particular page down into several bullet points of actions. What's been really difficult in this project so far is that it's a time travel project. And I don't want the character to travel back chronologically. Like it's not going to be a linear project, a linear travel. It's based on what the song he's listening to at the time. So he puts on this record that was an anniversary gift. So it's just several songs that all remind him of important moments throughout his relationship. And he's traveling through these various moments, and they're not necessarily in chronological order. So the first time he goes back in time, he's going to see his now ex, but the day he proposes to her. So he knows that they're going to break up, but now he's in this moment where he's supposed to literally ask her to be with him forever. You know, so he's dying inside, but he's looking at her and he realizes he awakens in this moment where he has to see this person entering the room, and he's holding this ukulele and he's ready to play the song for her to like propose marriage. And he's just, can he do it? And should he do it? Should he change, should he try to change everything knowing what's coming? Anyway, so basically I had to figure out a way to thematically or like tonally outline, which was weird, you know, because it's really weird knowing what a character is going to go through in their life versus what they have to go through emotionally, learning something through those different various times. Because like you can learn something thinking about like the moment you were 12 and you got hit by a ball, you know, or something, versus, and you learn something different as you revisit those different moments in, you know, from a different perspective. So I had to think about that a lot, and that's been a little bit of an issue. But I think getting it down on paper has been basically the same, where I break it all down as much as I can, and then just write and give it to Steven to make magic with. So that's what I do. I our songwriting process has always kind of been like that fun, that fun assembly line thing too. I don't, we just, you know, we come up with these funny ways to do things, but like I'll write something very simple and then you add on to it and make it much better. And,
Everyone, I just want you all to know that Anthony's extremely modest and he's completely down. Like he's not selling himself properly.
so
He's overselling me, which is kind of unfair, honestly. Is what's going to happen.
Steven is
You guys aren't going to be very impressed.
Steven's the god of guitar. Some people call him the Zeus of the sixth string. I've heard it by many people. Many people say that.
Just Anthony Lafusi goes now, the first person in the history of the world to call me that right there.
So I had a rough few days. The person I was seeing and I broke up. I'm not going to go into detail about it. I will in a second, but not for you. I mean, for you. Here's the thing.
For Steven, these are for my ears only.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I can't go into detail on it because I have to, out of respect for the person, it was very fresh, and I'm sure that she'll listen to this, and people she knows might listen to this, and I don't want anyone to have any sort of like ill will or you know, I don't want anyone to.
You can probably just edit the whole segment if you want. Then that way she doesn't even think we talked about her behind. Hey, we're going to talk about you real quick.
I think it's important to just kind of say, because it is part of the issues, and like it's actually, and I'm not afraid to say it is part of how I got the script done. You know, part of how I finished getting it done. Not because like I was so motivated or I had more time. It's mostly just I was trying to distract myself from the breakup and stuff. So I just kind of threw myself into figuring out the script and writing as much as possible, and it worked. I could totally avoid emotions by being productive.
That's one beautiful thing about like playing guitar, drawing, or having any sort of art form is you really can just like go hide somewhere for a little bit if you have to.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's a little. It's not as cowardly as it sounds, because I think that you also, it's kind of cathartic. Like you know, we tend to express those emotions through the thing that we're doing, you know. Like here I am literally writing a script about someone who went through a breakup while I'm going through a breakup. This one was a little weird. I'm not going to talk about it exactly what happened here. I'm going to tell Steven, and then maybe I'll cut some of his response into it so you can see it, but it was too.
I was like,
so maybe I'll cut some of Steven's response to it but I can't in good conscience tell people in public exactly what happened, because I don't think it's fair to the person I was with. Sometimes people act out of character, which is hard for me personally to understand. Not because I never do something that I would like to be defined as out of character, but I don't personally attach things, or it's like I don't attach things to myself that way. Basically, what if I do something, I'm like, I sucked then, you know? Like I just I think of it as me, and I'm just like, no, why did I do that? I'm the worst, because it is in character. I'm like, I wish I wasn't that person. I have to get better, you know? But I also know that some people, you know, the way they prefer to talk about things would be like, she acted out of character. Like she really did. I've never seen anyone do anything like this. So, dude, okay. So
I can't even imagine. I can't even like look and see how you would handle that situation. Like
it was so weird and like surreal, and it was really weird. Like it reminded me of when I was in like third grade and I was supposed to stay over this person's house, but their dad creeped me out, so I ran home. Like that's what it reminded me of. Like I ran all the way home when I was in like third grade. I wasn't supposed to do this. But I stayed over this kid's house, and his dad was just like checking on us all the time. And it was when we were in bed, and it was very creepy. And I just left. I just ran out the front door. a child just running through the streets. You know, I know that like personally in relationships, I do have a tendency to kind of like cut, and like newer relationships, if I see a lot of things that I deem as red flags, I very much like will just throw my hands up with it and, you know, put up a white flag and just be like, never mind, you know, I'm sorry. And I don't know, like to an extent, I think that's the smartest thing to do. But then I understand that I also have to be careful as to not, you know, dismiss things too soon or too quickly, you know, for the wrong reason. And
Which I feel like you did really give her a lot of opportunity, I think.
I thought so too. We talked about a few things that, you know, and it wasn't just the From Dusk Till Dawn thing, which was funny. But when there are other issues, you know, I can't just deny them. And you know, the same way I'm willing to jump into things and try to have faith in a new relationship and be optimistic, I also have to recognize, you know, sincere red flags and recognize moments where there's like a disconnect of some sort. And I think that's really hard in relationships in general. And I think I don't know, I just personally have issues with that. And I think some of it probably stems from, you know, my previous, you know, relationship with my son's mom. We started really strong, like really strong. There were no issues with us really in the beginning. And it kind of was what I would describe as perfect, you know, as much as it can be for a long time, you know? And then suddenly in that relationship,
the hospitality industry just takes souls.
Yeah, that's true. But you know, people make decisions, and you know, but so suddenly there were issues where I had not recognized any potential for any issues whatsoever. So then it was just like a tidal wave of death to that relationship. And I think that I might still have some lingering like PTSD with that, where if I see an issue early on, I'm scared of that tidal wave coming, you know, like those little butterfly flaps of, you know, incongruity, whatever it may be, like that disconnect. I can't help sometimes but to worry about the effect it's going to have in the future.
You can try like so hard to be neat and organized and like think you're doing like the right thing in so many different ways, and like people are still going to be people, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what's going to happen.
People are gonna people.
I'm a nester, man. And I mean, besides our like little brief stint of being shattered for a bit, like Tina's a nester too. So like I'm at least fortunate in that regard. Like it's just hard. It's hard to find someone that you can for sure know.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how to handle like those sort of situations. I try really hard, and I think we've spoken in private about that relationship and how I was trying to work through some things, and I was trying to be forgiving and trying to be understanding. And I also know that there's a part of me, I don't know if anyone else is like this, but I kind of like, there are like emotional switches that start to turn off when I start to be scared of certain things, or when like, if I start to recognize that there's already a disconnect somewhere happening, I start to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't get too excited. You know, it's kind of like when you know, okay, like there's a difference between when you're a kid and you're like, I really want Mortal Kombat, versus your parents going, we might get you Mortal Kombat. Like there's a difference, right? Like you don't get your hopes up until they're like, we might get that, right? But even when they say that, you're like, liars. They want me to do the dishes. They want me to do, they're not going
to do it.
They're not going to do it. So you get your hopes up like this much, but you kind of like cap it, you know? Like you recognize, like, I know them as a person. I know the way they're
going to buy me a toaster is what they're going to do.
They're going to buy me. Do you know that story, Stephen? Do you know that?
I do know that story. It's a great story.
Previously,
I told Tina the other day, actually. She's like, they bought him a toaster? I'm like, bought him a toaster.
My parents, bless their hearts, my parents bought me a toaster oven for Christmas one year. Now, when I say they bought me a toaster oven, what I really mean was they bought a toaster oven and put my name on it as a joke, and I put it in my bedroom.
Because Anthony was petty.
So I was gross, but I was also mad. And
that was young Anthony. Young Anthony was a different animal than current
true.
Anthony.
I was a little bitter about getting a toaster oven. It was pretty funny though. So I had a toaster oven in my room for a while. It was really good. I made a lot of those really cheap grilled cheese sandwiches that only a toaster oven can perfect.
Oh yes, that's true. Yeah, dude, you can just turn your toaster on the side and just grilled cheese like that.
That's true. My personal relationship issues, I have I definitely see too many red flags, but I don't know if that's just being too careful or if I'm the right amount of careful.
I'm sure with having a son, it makes that whole situation much more difficult to navigate. You know, like
really does. It really does. Like
this person is going to influence Atlas.
Yes. So to what extent can I accept any spectrum of behavior? You know, so like, yeah, normal human stuff, we're all good, okay? People make mistakes, but then if you do certain things or like show certain proclivities or certain, you know, like an aggression of any sort, I can't. You know, like I can't abide. You know, yeah. So my current plan is no relationships, no dating apps until we publish something. You know, like until.
And I'm just gonna keep doing everything I already do.
That's right. So Steven, you live this cool life. I'll do me.
I do have 2 daughters. It's rough stuff.
No, I know. I saw them both today. Very rough. That's funny. So, oh my gosh, Steven. You know what we haven't spoken about at all yet?
I was actually trying to think of a good way to segue into Kirsten Dunst's young character in Interview with a Vampire, but I just couldn't think of a better way to do it besides meow.
Okay, so sincerely, today I was talking with Atlas, and Atlas knows all the different ways to destroy vampires, you know. And there's some things about like the lore, like traditionally, or just in the different media about vampires, that I just think it's funny what different creators pick and choose to play with. Mm-hmm. You know how like sometimes crosses work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they work if you have faith in them, sometimes they don't.
Silver is surprisingly one for me that's not always the case. Like,
yes. Okay, so in my books, in Bullet and the Beast and in Table Scraps, my novel, silver is the only way to kill vampires. Mm-hmm. And so like it has to be silver in any way, but they usually do it through the chest. But it's silver. But that's not the case in basically anything anymore.
Silver. It was like Blade. Like I remember, like when we would watch like vampire movies, it was like Blade is the silver, and they would just explode into dust, even if like it just grazed them. You know, like
So I well, like from Dusk Till Dawn, I love how they're arguing about. I know silver bullets are for werewolves, but silver has something to do with vampires. And then Kate speaks up and she's like, "Does anyone have any silver? Then who cares?"
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I was playing with Atlas and we were talking about it, and it just reminded me about the mirror thing, because it was like I was trying to think of more recent vampire movies that use it, and how funny it is that like a lot of vampires are known for their beauty, but a lot of them also don't have reflections, which is funny. What do you prefer?
They must have vampire like teammates, like they like dress each other. I mean, that's the only way it would work, right? Like if we were vampires, like we would just make sure that each other looked good.
Oh yeah, you'd be my stylist. I'd be yours 100%. Yeah, I'd be your stylist.
I guess they could use like an iPhone. Maybe does that count as a reflection? No, I mean,
cameras. Yeah, because
cameras are mirrors, right?
Well, yeah. Okay, so.
Is that how that technology works? I don't know. Cameras.
I really wanted to start a Kickstarter for the Bullet and the Beast book that I'm working on, since it's October, and it's like a horror-based book. I thought it would be cool to start the Kickstarter this month, but I'm not sure if I'm confident enough that I'm going to be able to succeed in getting like enough backers yet. You know, I want to. I don't know. I'm not really sure what my intention is with it yet. I kind of want to keep the story going and know that I have enough issues to make people interested. And it's so strange. Like
have an arc. Even.
Yeah. I wanted to get like the first couple, like few, at least the first 3, and then like release those together to get to kind of like chum the water for people's interest. Hopefully, it's kind of like this podcast. Like I know, like we go on long, right? And I know that it would be smart to cut it down to like half hour to 40 minutes. That way people are more likely to like give it a chance, because when you see something that, like when you see
haunting,
when you see something that's they're new people creating something, you've never heard of them, you don't know them at all. Do you sit around for the 2 hours for them to talk about their comics and stuff? I don't know. I do, and I'm sure that other people do, but I don't know. So I don't have that confidence yet in what, in like the podcast or in my own books. So like I'm trying to just do it. That's kind of the only philosophy I can have with creating things, right? Is just, if we build it, then come. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just we try our best and put it out there and hopefully people respond well to it.
Which I've noticed with our 4th episode, we didn't like advertise as much this week.
Yeah.
And the viewership did dip. So I mean,
Yeah, you
really,
see that? So like,
I feel bad spamming my Facebook, but on the same token, I don't really fill up my feed, and most people just share random stuff anyway. So
yeah. So if you're out there and you're listening and you have some sympathy for us, we'd appreciate it if you share our channel or videos.
do
with
it.
anyone. Do it. But please, we need you and your grandma.
All of your grandmas.
Send all your grandmas.
I'm hoping, what I'm genuinely hoping for is that like your parents divorced, so that you have 2 sets of grandparents.
You
per
have 2 sets of
parent.
grandparents. They can all subscribe to us.
Oh.
That's at least 4 grandparents.
How many grandparents for us?
Okay, so now that you have the pages and stuff, now that you have the script for the first chapter, basically, what's your plan for this week?
I'm gonna try to work on some pages. That would be the ideal.
All right. So like if you could boil it down to like one specific goal, what do you think it would be?
Skip the first page and just start working on 2 and 3. No, just kidding.
You can, dude. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'll probably try to get the first page done because it's a huge splash.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's important. Like I'm trying to like figure out how I want to get that page because I feel like you like kind of described the ending of the book to me. So like I have an idea of how it starts dark, ends light type thing, and like I do want to like try to like bookend it.
That's why, that's the only reason I have that beginning page is the exterior, because it's a full circle. You know, you're gonna try to get the first page. I'm gonna write the entire chapter 2. So that's my plan. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do it, especially since now I have more time.
I'm probably gonna get some dislikes too. It's gonna hurt my soul.
That's okay. We have not received any yet, thankfully.
She's gonna do it.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping she's a better person.
Listen, you can't dislike it just because of him.
That's true. If you
I'm here too, and I've done nothing wrong.
Steven is a saint.
I mean, I've wronged a lot of people in my life, but not you.
17, Steven. We do have to talk about some of Steven's issues at some point. We have to talk about who Steven is as a man sometimes.
Like, I'm not going to recommend you keep this part in, but, like, one time I had a problem with, like, peeing to bed when I was, like, 7. I had, like, I don't know. My sister, Sarah, throwing you under the bus, we both had issues with that. We had pee issues. But I was at my friend's house, and we were sleeping in bed.
You had piss shoes?
I had piss shoes. So I pee to bed. I wake up, and he's laying next to me, and I peed to bed while he's laying in bed. And I'm like, get up. I roll him into my pee, put the blanket on him, and left. Just left. Like, dude made a mess. He's lived his whole life. He beat on me.
Steven, I'm gonna leave that in. Steven, I'm afraid I have to leave that in. It made me cry from laughing. I have to leave it in.
Like, if by chance he ever finds this video, he's gonna know exactly. I don't even need to like names or anything. Like, he's just gonna be like, "Oh my god."
Steven, okay. Okay, since I'm dealing with like emotional stuff, I was gonna ask, because is there anything, because I know we both have like, I know like all of our friends have some sort of like parental issues. Mm-hmm. Is there anything in like movies or music that like gets you more than other things, like makes you cry?
Dude, it's not nothing in particular. Well, dude, just like some songs, if they just sound emotional and I'm singing along, I'll have a hard time singing them and start to tear up or well up. Let me think. What's a song? If you have yours, you can go ahead and start saying yours. But
well, I like for me, it's like anytime, honestly, especially now. Sorry, I know ostrich head in the sand, but like anytime there's anything that's like really just like good overcoming evil, like when the good guys like pull it through and win, there's like that like optimistic like goosebump moment of victory. It just like wells up in me sometimes. Like it happens in the most ridiculous times. Like literally Justice League made me cry. Like Justice League. Like that'll get me, but like more personally, it's usually like parents or like fathers being proud gets me. That sort of thing gets me a lot. Or I'm like, obviously I have something going on here.
I got some daddy issues.
Yeah,
I definitely have those.
Yeah, so like anytime someone's like shows that they're proud of someone or that they really care about something, or like anytime someone's really supportive, that gets me too. That sort of thing, that stuff gets me. Obviously, like there are some things with kids, there's some things with relationships that will make me well up, but it's usually the like happy tears or it's just I get really emotional about that sort of thing for some reason. I was just wondering if you had any of those.
Oh yeah, like I was saying, like it's always displaced. It's not even like a sad song or moment, but it's just like you can tell it's an emotional song. And just like even some of like the Frozen songs, man, like the way some of them like sound melodically, and like when you go to sing it, like it's just sad sounding. Yeah, man. I know what you're talking about. I feel like that's the only way I do feel, if that makes any sense.
No,
like, I feel like I don't get sad.
See, okay, so I kind of have that problem, and like I've definitely been dealing with it more so after my last breakup. Is I know. Like I feel really like connected to people when it happens, like I can feel the connection with people, and when things are good, I feel that it's good. But I also just kind of have this weird disconnect when things go bad. Like when things are bad, I don't immediately I don't cry, I don't get really sad. I just think a lot, and I try to work through it, and it doesn't always show that I'm actually sad. Like I feel sad, and sometimes I get You ever get the physical waves of depression in your chest? Has that happened to you? Like,
it's not as often. I suffer more with highs, but like I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get that more than I'll get in my head with like tears in front of people. I very, very rarely cry in front of people because I'm sad. I'm much more likely to cry because something makes me happy. My mom the other day, I was in the kitchen making my lunch, and we were talking about losing parents. But my mom said when she lost her mom, the one of her favorite moments, like the thing that made her feel better, was that I came up and hugged her. And like it makes me feel like emotional just talking about it now. But like she said,
you don't realize those moments.
Yeah, but she said, that my just me being there for her and like showing my sympathy and my love for her was just so important to her, and just like that, just me being important to her, even though I know I am because I'm her son. Like just feeling that, I was like, oh god, like it's a good thing. It's making me emotional, and so like I get that, but I don't really express my sadness immediately in the way that a lot of people do. And like, you're like that too sometimes? Like and it makes you, okay, so in the past, it's made people feel like I'm unemotional, which sucks. And I don't know. And, I mean,
I'll feel it. It'll just be like 5 years later or something.
And
it's staggered. I can't explain it. It's like, it's some sort of weird defense mechanism that I must have like created at some point where I don't feel those moments when they're happening. Like I remember, and like I think you remember too, like the year after when I finally did feel any effects of it. But when my grandma passed away, that was like the first real loss of my life, and like I wasn't crying. And I remember my siblings telling me like how like cold I was and how I didn't even care that grandma was gone. And it's like, no, I don't know why I'm like completely imprisoned in my own self right now, but I can't feel those things for some reason.
Yeah, I go through the exact same thing, and
it's defense for sure.
And I don't think it's never fair to judge people on how they're mourning something or how they're experiencing something, and I understand the response in certain situations that you want to see someone that someone cares, and it's really hard to see when someone's not showing that particular emotion, especially if you're crying already and you're really upset, and someone's staring back at you just kind of thinking with a, a contemplative expression, just kind of nothing in front of you.
Face, yeah.
Yeah, and I I don't mean to be like stoic, but I am more thoughtful than I am emotional, and I, so I tend to write things. That's why I write, like, I'm literally writing a graphic novel about this whole breakup thing that I have. I tend to write out everything I'm feeling, and when I write them out, I cry and like get through what I was feeling, and I squeeze that sponge, so to speak. But in the moment, it doesn't come out that way. I'm not, when I'm looking at someone, sometimes, like, I'll well up and it'll happen. I definitely, when my son's mom and I broke up, I definitely cried a lot. But then I didn't, like, I cried, and then there were several conversations that you'd imagine there should be tears, but there weren't, and that was really weird.
I feel like that's like the one thing that breaks the mold is like unexpected.
Yeah.
Because like when that happened with us, I mean, I remember I was completely destroyed for like ever.
Yeah.
And I remember crying and all that. But like, I think that's what it is. It's like when I think that the reason why maybe we don't cry in a moment or feel like sad in a moment is because we already saw that moment coming or felt that moment. So we're already prepared for it.
I think so too.
Those curveball moments are what catch us off guard and they get us, and then that's what makes us actually get upset. I think we spend most of our lives like trying to predict what's going to come.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's we have this idea of what like the potential future is, and as long as something is within our potential future that we predicted, we don't respond too poorly to it. So like if good or bad, we see all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, I saw this coming to an extent. I was hoping it would be this one. And I, like with my son's mom, I didn't see that happening, and
exactly.
And then, but with my newer relationship, there were a few indicators that made me think that something bad was coming. And, I hope it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't think it is, but.
Well, you've obviously had instances where it's not, what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I don't think.
Yeah. So, I think that part of it is like compartmentalizing things too, where I kind of think like, I think it's compartmentalizing because if someone does a certain thing, I think, oh boy, if this continues, it's not gonna be so great. Like, it's kind of like capping off emotionally, knowing that like, oh God, if they're capable of doing this thing, I don't think I can get past this wall, or like there's a threshold emotionally. And I think it's that way with any relationship in general. Kind of like, like you have coworkers that you're just not that close with. So you kind of have like, you haven't crossed through that personal threshold emotionally, but as soon as someone shares something and you start getting a little closer, you kind of open that door. Now the room's a little bigger and you're saying like, okay, we can walk around this room together and I can see the pictures of your kids, or I can see the pictures of like who you were when you were in high school or whatever. And then there's another door where it's like, oh, this is who you are musically. This is who you are, emotionally. And I think that sometimes people do things and you just see those doors close. And I'm not going to walk through that door. That door would have been where all my tears were. Like, like if we were already in that door and then the door shut and I was forced out of it, that's where tears come from. Like if you're forced out of those doors where you once thought, it was your new home to an extent, or you at least felt welcome. When you're forced out of those places, you feel, abandoned, you feel rejected, you feel, so that's where all the.
I can only imagine, dude, like, cause like, I experienced all those feelings, but obviously mine ended differently. And like, I remember thinking those ways, like how like there's certain aspects that I'm gonna have to like live with, knowing like she's gonna move on, she's gonna meet someone else, she's going to marry someone else, she's going to, and it was just like these unreal thoughts, like these like unbelievable thoughts like that, like I couldn't process. Like it was just so like. Every memory like is tainted, but at the same time not. Like it's you want to hold on to them, but you can't. Like I know, like I feel bad talking about it because I had the resolution that like where it came full circle for me, where I was still able to salvage that. But I mean, there was still a lot of woe and everything that came out of that situation. I mean, it was years of navigating a lot of stuff. But But yeah, man, like I know what you're talking about. I know like that it's not a good feeling. I remember those thoughts. I just remember, yeah, like laying in bed, my dad playing Papa Roach.
Wait, because you were cutting your life into pieces?
It wasn't even that one.
It
It
was
was
your last resort?
no, man. It wasn't even that. Like it wasn't. I don't even want to say good Papa Roach because I'm not a fan. Sorry, Father, if you're listening to this. Um, it was that tear my heart open, like that self-indulging song that he sings, like where he's like just, I'm such a good guy.
Yeah.
How could you do? My weakness is I care too much. Like,
Oh my gosh, that's
yeah,
good. Okay.
it's cringy.
Oh.
But like that song, like yeah, I remember it's like because I had moved back here with my mom and everything, and yeah, that was like a weird time.
Okay, but let's be fair here. If you have to retire any music, it's okay that it's Papa Roach, right? like oh no, you can't listen to that anymore because it'll probably remind you of those moments.
Ooh.
But you also don't have to listen to Papa Roach ever.
You know what song like was like a sword through my chest?
Oh, what was it?
I remember like because like one of Tina and I's whole issues was always like how I didn't really like appreciate her and do like enough in like those moments like dance and things like that. And that Bruno Mars song, which is such an obviously sad song anyway, but that I should have bought you flowers, like that whole song, like oh my, like it was just like it was like a popular song at the time, so I heard it all the time, and I'm just like I'm just dying over here.
Yeah, important. That's crazy. It's amazing, you know. It's like the high fidelity thing, like which came first, the music or the misery, you know. But it's really interesting how we no matter what, we have that selective attention where the universe seems to conspire to show a soundtrack of whatever we're experiencing, like I
made this for you.
Yeah, it's exactly what it feels like. But yeah, it's just weird how like we watch these things when we're experiencing different things. We watch things that tend to be a mirror to whatever our experience is, and it's kind of magic. It's kind of like when we have dreams, and then like the thunder will happen in our dreams, and we wake up and it's thundering outside, and it's like, so I heard the storm, and my alarm went off, and like everything just like lines up perfectly in a dream somehow, and it's just like, what was that magic, But anyway, so I've had so many moments like that where like some sort of sitcom or a movie just perfectly aligns with whatever I'm going through at the time, and it happens a lot with music, that's for sure. Like
music's just for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I even have to be kind of careful because like I'll put on Spotify and I'll put on like a playlist, and I have a couple of songs that are just basically like don't rush into a relationship too soon type of songs that definitely hit my life at a very important time on accident, like there's this song by who is it? There's this song by Against Me called Born on the FM Airwaves of the Heart or something like that, and it's just all about like not saying I love you too soon, and like not rushing into things, and like recognizing that like sometimes things are really exciting at first, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right thing to do, and you have to be careful.
Be smart.
Yeah, you have to be smart. And so I discovered that song on accident, literally during one of those moments where I was just new to dating, and I was kind of finally had met someone who I was like, oh, there's potential here. And I am such an idiot when it comes to just like gasping at potential, where I'm just like, I don't know. I've always been like the podcast, like the comics, like everything else. Like I'm willing to take leaps of faith, like I think that's the only way to really accomplish things sometimes. Because I think you can plan forever, and and want everything, just like my relationship with my son's mom. Like you can think everything's perfect and try to build this perfect house of cards, but not know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to come along and gust tidal wave over your whole card castle. So
that's actually a lesson I've learned with art in general too. It's not. I feel like you've kind of taught me that in a way too. Like you always think like I'm in the way like this. I can never make it better than this. But you just need to like keep doing stuff and keep making stuff, and you'll realize that those things that used to be your like the greatest are just a small stepping stone in your progress. You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
The thing that you thought was going to be everything is actually just this very tiny, minute thing that's just nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy how that works.
It really is crazy. It's like that's why I think it's so important to just, instead of looking at everyone and being like being discouraged by everyone else's success, to look at people and like be thankful for them and congratulate them, and then try to basically just be better than you were yesterday. Like when I write things, that's why when I look back at things that are written, I I try not to cringe too much. And I'm like, I'm glad that I'm a better writer now, or I feel that I'm a better, you know, my writing has improved to an extent that I can now judge myself. You know, that's good. Like it's, you know, I don't ever want to feel like I've just completely plateaued, you know, so that it's nice to know that we're growing and we're still trying. I think like there's the saying, the perfection is the enemy of the good, you know, like I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind, you know, like you have to work at something and just be happy with what progress you make and celebrate those little victories and then move forward and just keep trying, you know. So just, you know, like the podcast and the comics, like relationships, like I've definitely thrown my body off many cliffs trying to make relationships work. And you know, I'm feeling a little more reluctant to jump into that right now, which is healthy, I think. I'm not looking to date anytime soon, so I'm pretty much going to go.
You gotta get someone before we become famous, though. Otherwise, you'll never know.
That's my fear. I need someone to want me. If you can't handle me at my destitute, you don't deserve me.
You don't deserve me at my mediocrity. Okay. You don't deserve me at like me surviving enough.
That's right. That's right. No, I think it's funny though. I don't know.
I was trying to think of which celebrity you were aiming for. Kat Dennings, right?
Kat Dennings. Yeah,
Cool.
I love Kat Dennings. I think she's so cool. She seems.
I think you're attractive enough. We just need to get you a little bit more popular. That's all.
I can't agree, but I agree with the popularity part. Not that Kat Dennings only dates people who are popular or whatever, but I'm just saying.
You have to be within her radar. Like I'm sure she's an awesome person, but like you can't just date Anthony Rafusi. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
he
has to be like. I mean, I guess she could. Hey, Kat, date him and make her comic awesome.
That's true. Please? No, I'm Kat Dennings. I'm not ready to date yet. I'm sorry. I'm gonna take a break, Kat Dennings. In the future. No, I don't know her. She could be ridiculous, but I don't know, she seems cool. I think that's one of the most interesting things about dating that I've discovered is just like how little importance there truly is with like physical attraction. Like it has to be there, but I think like there's so much after that it's just like, if you think about dating apps, right? I always thought it's really funny that if you think about dating apps, you literally judge people in the most superficial way. You're like, okay, left swipe if I don't like you, right swipe if you're right for me, if I like you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Don't judge a book by its cover, but we literally do that.
But we literally do. But the funniest thing about it is they want you to judge the book by the cover, and they always put the information literally below the surface. So you literally have to look deeper to see more about people. Like, it's kind of, I think it's funny. It's kind of brilliant in a way that like you can either judge books by the book by their cover, or you can choose to look beneath the surface and learn about the person. Right. And then, but even beyond that, you know, people write things about themselves, and I don't know, writing about something like a synopsis and a book are two different things. You know, like a book can sound really good and then not be so great. Same thing with a movie. A movie can sound real cool. Like Sharknado sounds like it's going to be fun, like an awesome movie. Not necessarily good, you know? I'm just kidding, Sharknado. I love you.
You're amazing, Sharknado.
So this is the Sharknado podcast. What are sharks, if not ocean vampires? I'm pretty sure they're the vampires of the sea. They want your blood.
Dude, I've been like reading stuff about like how orcas kill them, man. And like I used to think sharks were evil, but like orcas, man, they're nasty, bro. They like flip great whites on their bellies and drown them.
That's insane.
And then precision eat their organs and then just leave their freaking carcasses floating upside down. So much so that great white sharks, when they see orcas, they're just like, yeah, we're not going to come back here for like 5 years. Like,
that's gone. Amazing. So next week you're going to try to finish one page, pencil wise. I wouldn't expect any more. That'd be crazy. So you're going to try to finish one page pencil wise, and I'm going to write all of chapter 2. That's our plan. Yeah, we're really bad at this, so help us out. We really appreciate you listening at all or watching at all. If you're just listening to this and you don't know that we have the YouTube channel. We do have a YouTube channel. You just have to search for We Have Issues. If you're interested, please just look us up on YouTube where We Have Issues podcast. You'll see all of our comics on there, and you'll know that it's us. It's Steven and Anthony. And please subscribe. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
Have
thank
a
you.
pleasant evening. Or more, whenever this is posted, have one of those. For us, it's evening.
Have a pleasant morning, evening. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Thank you all. Thank you for watching We Have Issues.
Thank you for watching We Have Issues.
Say see you next time.
See you next time.